And then everything got worse. My father started locking the doors when he left, to make sure I couldn't talk to anyone. The broom stayed in the corner of the kitchen like a loaded weapon, always there, always waiting. I would stare at it even when I was alone, paralyzed. The nightmares came hard that I'd wake up screaming, soaked in sweat. I started wetting the bed again. At 13, that only earned me more corrections. At school, I was a shadow, a ghost walking the halls. Quiet, tense, fading, but inside me, something else began to grow. Not hope, not yet. Anger. Anger at the injustice. Anger at the betrayal. Anger at the woman who watched it all and called it motherhood. And with that anger came courage, because I realized something. If this continued, I wouldn't survive. I would die in that yellow house. So I had two choices: stay silent and die, or speak and maybe live. It was a Wednesday. Hot, dry, ordinary. The night before, I had been corrected again for breaking a glass. I couldn't sit properly in my chair at school. The pain was sharp, constant. Mrs. Linda noticed. She saw how I winced, how I shifted after class. She locked the door. "Mary, what's happening in your home?" I stared at the floor. "Mary," she said softly, "look at me." I did. And what I saw in her eyes wasn't pity or horror. It was truth. It was compassion. "No one deserves to suffer like this," she said. "Not a child. Not anyone." And I broke. 5 years of silence poured out of me like floodwater. I told her everything. The broom, the blood, the pain, the threats, the fear. My mother's silence, her eyes watching through the door crack. All of it. Every last piece of the nightmare I had lived since I was 8. She didn't interrupt. She didn't ask for proof. She didn't say, "Are you sure?" She said, "I believe you." 3 words, and for the first time since I could remember, I felt like I wasn't alone. I cried. Not from pain, but from relief, from not having to carry this horror alone anymore. Mrs. Linda said we needed evidence. She explained the LWMY word against theirs wasn't enough. "But I have bruises," I said. "And we'll use them," she replied. "But if we could catch them in the act?" The thought turned my stomach, going through it again, letting it happen one more time. But she looked at me and said, "This could be your only chance." So I said yes. "If this is the last time, I'll endure it." We made a plan. She gave me a small camera, taught me how to use it, told me to take photos, told me to hide the broom after, told me exactly what would happen once she brought the evidence to her lawyer friend. That night I went home like normal, sat at the table, ate in silence, pretended to be the same broken little girl. My mother told me to bathe. Go to bed. I obeyed. 10 p.m. I heard his footsteps. The door creaked open. He had the broom. "Get up," he said. I obeyed, but this time I wasn't just a victim. This time I was ready. 2 hours of hell, but every second of pain was a step closer to freedom. I endured it, and afterward, while he slept, I switched the broom. I hid the bloodied one, the broken one, the proof. The next day I gave everything to Mrs. Linda. She went to the lawyer. He went to the judge. The judge didn't hesitate. They sent a team that very night. At 9:14 p.m. there was a knock on the door. Police, social workers, and me standing in my room trembling. A woman said, "Mary, we're here to help. You don't have to stay here anymore." I packed a small bag. A few clothes. My old dolls. My notebook. That's all I owned. When I walked out, my father was in handcuffs. My mother was crying. "You liar," she hissed. I didn't answer, because I wasn't her daughter anymore. I was my own. They took me to a hospital, documented the bruises, confirmed the injuries, logged the evidence, and then they told me, You're safe now. Mrs. Linda petitioned the court to become my guardian, and they approved that I moved in with her. A quiet house, no locked doors, no broom in the corner. Just books and peace. The first time I dropped a glass there, I froze, instinctively waiting for pain, but she just smiled. Glasses break, sweetheart. That's all. I cried for 10 minutes. Because that was the first time in my life someone didn't hurt me for being human. I healed slowly, therapy, support, trust, which took the longest. But I healed. I went back to school. I graduated. And one day, I told my story publicly, not to relive it, but to free others, because I knew there were other yellow houses, other brooms in other corners, other girls just like me, and maybe, just maybe, they were waiting for someone like you to believe them. If you are that girl, you are not alone. It is not your fault, and you are not what happened to you. You are who you choose to become. I am Mary Payne. I was a victim, then a survivor, now a voice, and I will never be silent again.